So a couple of years ago, I was researching cases of alleged institutional discrimination and police brutality, and I came upon this case, and I realized that this was one of the cases that I wasn't aware of. I hadn't heard of it, but it resonated really personally with me for a few different reasons, and that prompted me to reach out to Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. to ask him what the status of the case was, the legal status of it, what was happening, whether whether a film had been produced about it or anything like that. And I kind of expressed that I was interested in doing that. And I'll let Kenneth add to that answer.
Well, from that point, David and I spoke, and he said to me that he wanted to help me get the death of my father out there to a broader audience, if you will, of what actually happened, because there was no accountability in his killing. So I asked him, well, how do you want to do that? He said, I make movies. Let me make a movie about the story of your dad. So it was at that point that, I've had people talk to me about it before and say they wanted to do it. And, given my experiences with the legal system and everything, and feeling like people were just lying to me about different things, I was a little apprehensive at first, but something said, you can trust them. And, we're here today. And I've viewed the movie, and I think it's great. Well, one of the things that David did that the other people didn't do is he sent me pretty much his resume. Here's my information. Here's what I've done. Here are the people that I've worked with. And when I directed him to my attorneys, he didn't shy away. He communicated with them. And, we gave him the information. Everything that we gave him for the film was actual court transcripts, stuff that is available to anyone through Freedom of Information. So, and we just went from there.
I've known David for a very long time, and we went out to lunch, and we were just talking about hey, we got to try to work on something, collaborate, let's do something. He's like, well, I have this script, this idea, I'd love to send it to you, and it was The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain. At that time, it was called something else, and I read it, and I was like, when can we meet? And I immediately got together, and I was like, this is powerful. This is absolutely powerful, and I'm like, we need to tell a story. I was like, let's figure it out. Let's do that right now. Let's figure it out. And 4 months later, we were shooting. I think it was pretty quick. I got super passionate about it. We were just like, we have to make this. I got to talk to Kenneth, and I just felt like it was a story that needed to be told, and we told it. Absolutely. I mean, look, I've made a ton of features. I've produced a ton of features, and nothing is quite like this. And this has kind of changed my perspective on what we can do as filmmakers in the film industry. And it's changed my life in so many ways. And we just had our world premiere last night, and the reaction from the audience was just, I think, something that none of us expected this. And it was just crying, and I was crying. I've seen this movie thousands of times, and I was sobbing. And it was just unbelievably heartbreaking. And, raising awareness of social issues is just, I think we are tasked as filmmakers to do that, and I think it should be our responsibility to raise awareness of these topics, and I'm so proud to say that we've done that. And our movie's called The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain, and it's because we want people to know his name. We want people to remember this story, and hopes that Kenneth Jr. can continue the fight for his father.
I don't think I did. Kenneth, do you remember by any chance if I sent you a version of the script? I think that I waited to speak with Kenneth, and like he said, his attorneys were able to send me some information, and I spent quite a bit of time researching, and that always kind of happens when I develop a script, the thing that takes me the longest is the research and letting things marinate and kind of just it's like a cognitive process that I go through of being able to see the big picture in my mind before I sit down to start writing, so that once I start writing, it comes pretty naturally and it comes pretty quickly. So I wanted to make sure, and I also wanted to make sure that Kenneth was comfortable with the idea of even doing this, because I wouldn't be comfortable telling a story that's based on true events if the people involved in the true events didn't want that story to be told, or didn't if I hadn't earned their trust, I wouldn't be comfortable moving forward with it.
If I remember correctly, after we spoke and my attorney sent some of the court transcripts, it was at that point, maybe a week or so later, I think I received the first copy of the script. Read through it, my attorneys read through it, I looked at it, I said, it seems pretty accurate here. I don't really have any issues with anything that I've seen, and sent it back, and we kind of went from there. And then he just started telling me the people who would be involved in it, and they flew me out to Chicago, and I was on set. And I tell people a few times it was a little overwhelming being on the set, because we're dealing with real life event here, and so I would walk off every now and again, kind of gain my composure, come back and watch these actors, and I mean, they did a wonderful job. When I look at these actors and the roles they had to portray and how they really got into these roles, even with the one, like for instance Enrico and some of the other people who played police officers, and then, well, Enrico was kind of like his role because, he was the nice guy in it, but, the other people that played the police officers who were very aggressive and, and really taunting, mocking, harassing Frankie, who was portraying my father. When you speak to these guys after they've shot these scenes, they're some of the nicest guys in the world, and it's, how do you do that? But again, that's what happened, and like I said, I'm very pleased with the film. Frankie Faison asked me a couple of questions, but not much. LaRoyce Hawkins, who actually is supposed to be my voice in the film, he and I spoke, we had a conversation, and I think that was just more so just to kind of understand how I speak, and again, but other than that, no, they just went based off of the script, and the script is based off of court transcripts, and took it from there.